Welcome, everyone, to FRESHH Radio. I'm your host, the young man, Nuke. And today, I have a special guest on the line. And truly, before I introduce him, or before I allow him to introduce himself, I would like to go over a couple things in his amazing career as an author. He's written a few different books, such as Christmas for Joshua, The Mormon Candidate, Thump, One Step Ahead, A Mother of Seven Escaping Hitler's Claws, and this book that we're here to talk about, Deborah's Calling. So if my guest is out there, Avraham, would you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, thank you for having me. This is Avraham Azrieli, and I'm delighted to be with you today.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's so great to have you here, man. It's a pleasure. I'm a little flabbergasted at the moment, running just a bit behind, but we can make this happen. So, Avraham, tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born in Israel. I grew up there, went to law school, and then came to the United States, and have been writing books for a long time while practicing law until a few years ago. I've published about, 12 books so far, and the latest is a series of fictional historical novels that I'm writing for HarperCollins Publishers about a biblical figure named Deborah, who, as far as I can tell, was the first woman to lead a nation in recorded human history.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's super interesting. Now you say this is a series. So obviously this is it's not just something that you can finish in one book. What is the story about Deborah's Calling?
Well, the series started with a book called Deborah Rising, which was published last year, and it continues with the new book, Deborah Calling. And the third book is in the works. Hopefully it will be out in a few months. And the story is basically trying to solve a riddle raised by the Bible in the book of Judges as part of the historical recounting of what happened to the Israelites, the ancient Israelites.
Okay.
There was really a very short story about a woman named Deborah who rose to become a prophet, a judge, and eventually a national leader. I'm hearing a lot of noise in the background, and I wonder if you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you all the way clear. I'm pretty sure my audience can hear you as well.
Excellent. So the riddle is really, how did a woman become a national leader at a time when women had no power and no influence whatsoever? In fact, they were subject in every respect to the control of their husbands and their fathers. And yet this singular woman was able to rise to the top and become the leader of the nation. And the riddle really is, how did she do it? Which is what my series of fictional novels is about.
Okay. So how did you become interested in Deborah's story? I mean, obviously, you spoke that she was in the Bible, but what drew you to this character?
Well, growing up in Israel, I have done a lot of traveling around, hiking primarily, and the site that's most intriguing is where Deborah conducted a huge battle against the Canaanites, according to the book of Judges, basically surprising a much superior force of 900 steel chariots, the largest army in Canaan at the time, fielded by the Canaanite king. And she was able to manipulate or maneuver that force into a swampland created by recent rains near a local river. And she won that battle and won independence and liberty for the Israelites. And I used to hike in that area and climb the mountain called Mount Tabor, which is where that battle took place. So this is a strong memory from childhood that I've been pondering over the years, here and there, thinking how could that woman rise to that position of power? And what I'm trying to do in the series of novels is really portray a young woman in ancient Israel confronting terrible difficulties and challenges that really hone her skills and her resilience to enable her to become such an exceptional woman.
So man, that's so awesome. And you know what? I'm not going to say I'm all the way versed in the Bible, but I've never heard of this individual, and it's amazing that you're able to pull this story out of the Bible like that. I like that. That's awesome. That's so awesome. So, I have to ask, is this the story of Deborah? Does this somehow correlate with us in the modern life?
I think it does in many ways. First of all, a large part of the world is still living in biblical time as far as women's rights are concerned. A lot of women in the world, especially in the Middle East and Africa, have no rights. They basically have the same existence as women in biblical times. They're not free to do anything but their own. The men own all the land. The men own all the property. And literally, men own women in large parts of the world today. So in that respect, the story is as current as it was 3,200 years ago. And the second part of it is really, it's a story of resilience. It's a story of a person, in that case a woman. But it's relevant to today when a person faces incredible odds, difficult challenges, an almost impossible path to reaching his or her goals. So the story is about confronting unbelievable difficulties and realizing her true calling despite everything that's in the way. And in that respect, it's a story that's as human and as relevant at any time.
That seems like something that we can all pull something from in one aspect or another. Like I like to, my grandmother's very religious, and I like to say that the way that those people lived in those days, and not only does it correlate to how we're living now, it also is a reflection of how one could be living and should be living. And those parallels are important to learn from in one aspect or another. I'm sure you can agree.
Yeah.
Now,
yes.
Go ahead.
No, I agree with you 100% that we need to draw lessons from other people. The way for us to progress and grow is learn the wisdom and the experience of other people that came before us, whether family members or people we admire. Right.
So this is a historical fiction. What makes it a historical fiction? I'm not too much sure that I understand what historical fiction means.
Of course, let me talk about that a little bit. Historical fiction
is
a combination. It's really a combination of writing about history and creating fictional characters. In other words, all the facts around the story, the way people lived, the way people ate, the way they supported each other, the way they defended their personal safety, the way they traveled great distances or short distances, all those parts, the author tries to make that as correct as possible. So the story, the historical part, has to be as accurate as possible, whereas the drama itself, the story, the characters, or some of the characters, are fictional or partly fictional. For example, in this case, I'm writing about a historical figure, but we have very little information about that historical figure of Deborah. In other books that I've written before, for example, I wrote 2 spy stories set in Israel. I have cameo appearances of real historical figures, prime ministers, presidents, etc. Whereas the main character, the spies, are fictional characters. So historical fiction is really a combination of a fictional story set in true or as accurate as possible historical times.
Okay, that's awesome. Now you did say this was a series. Now I know
Yes.
a series means more than one book. Now, how many more books are you planning on releasing?
Well, 2 books are out, Deborah Rising and Deborah Calling. Another book is now being reviewed by the publisher. That will be the 3rd book, and hopefully that will be out in a few months. And there may be more books. I'm looking or working at the beginning of a 4th book in the series. And my goal is really to give a full picture, fictional again, of how Deborah was able to rise, and against all odds at a time when no women, not a single woman, and women in general had no possibility to rise beyond, basically akin to slaves. So, yes, it's going to be a series. I'm not sure how many books, but at least 3 so far.
Okay, awesome. That's so awesome. That's so awesome. Now, this whole book is set in the time frame of ancient Israel. Now, do you see there any similarities between ancient Israel and modern Israel due to this historical fiction book?
I do see some parallels. The story that I'm telling took place over 3,000 years ago, during the time of the Judges, and that was a time when the ancient Israelites, like the modern Israelis, lived on their ancestral land, Canaan, later called Palestine, called Israel. Sometime it was called Judea. The Romans actually were the ones who changed it to Palestine. So that piece of land, which is pretty small, it's about about 50 miles by 200 miles. That's the size of Israel. Has seen recurring Jewish states or Israelite states that were then facing tremendous attacks and hostilities and foreign conquerors. And in that respect, Israel today is fighting every day for its survival against its neighbors.
Yes, they are.
And in that respect, it's very similar to, unfortunately, continuous history since about 4,000 years ago.
Yeah, that's I'm not. I try to have a world mind point of view when I just in general. I like to know what's going on the other side of the planet because I'm not the only one here living, and I'm not. Once again, I did say that I was familiar with the Bible a little bit, but I'm not too sure what exactly happened in ancient Israel. But if it has anything to do with what's going on in current Israel, it's an ongoing thing. It's an ongoing process, and it's sad that's what's currently going on. So I can only imagine what was happening 3,000 years ago. Now,
yes,
go ahead.
I'm saying you're right. I mean, the weapons were different, obviously. People conducted fighting in different ways, but unfortunately, people are still fighting and trying to kill each other, and that's tragic continuously.
It's definitely a shame. It's definitely a shame. I have it's depressing watching the news. So yeah. With that being the case, I have I'm not personally I'm not a fiction reader, but when it ties into history, I can definitely appreciate it. So with that being the case, I have to ask you, like, what is the key to writing a good historical fiction?
There are many tools in the box for a writer who wants to tackle historical fiction. For me personally, first of all, there is the need for an intriguing main character and an intriguing story, obviously. For me, it was, in this case, it's Deborah, because she does present a very intriguing story, very short, in the Book of Judges, including a song, the Song of Deborah, which biblical scholars have analyzed and feel that it's actually one of the most ancient and authentic paragraphs in the Bible. The second thing that I think you really want to have in historical fiction, which the readers tremendously enjoy, is authenticity. Readers want to see how people actually lived. You need to get the facts correct about, how they cooked, what they ate, how they moved from place to place, how they took care of animals, how animals took care of them. And all these facts give color and substance to the story. And, of course, the third thing is you got to have a very exciting story. And the best thing I can hear from my readers is that they couldn't put it down. It was interesting. It was suspenseful. They had to know what happened next. And that's true for every story, historical or current.
That's so true. That's so true. Even like I said, I don't read fiction, but like the books I read, if I can't put them down, then that's a sign that writer is impeccable at what they're doing. And I'm pretty sure that you're doing a good job too, considering you're on the third book and you're looking to get a fourth one out of there. So this must be an engaging and enthralling story that you're telling here. So with that being the case, how do the readers or the listeners, I might say, get in contact with you or have a chance to go purchase this book? Where can they get it from?
Of course. Well, the books are available really everywhere books are sold. Deborah Rising was the first book, and Deborah Calling the second book. They're available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and, of course, your independent bookstores. If you have independent bookstores in your area, please go and help these stores survive. They're very important for the community. And you can also go to my website. I have a website with tons of information about myself and the books and a way to contact me if you so wish. And that website is my last name and the word books, which would be azrielibooks.com. Azrieli is spelled AZRIELIBOOKS.com. And I love to hear from my readers. You can contact me, and I always try to reply within a couple of days.
Yeah, that's so awesome, man. You definitely, all my readers and listeners out there, you guys need to go pick up a copy of this book, at least the first one, Deborah Calling, and pick it up and see where he's going with from there. Then you can go on and purchase the next one, Deborah Calling. What's the third one called?
Say it again. I didn't hear your question.
I said, what is the third book called in the series? Yeah, Deborah Calling.
Well, we don't have the first one is Deborah Rising, the second one is Deborah Calling, and the third one does not have a title yet. That's still in the works. It's being reviewed by the publisher now, so hopefully we'll have a title in the next couple of months.
Okay, so excuse me, everybody go out and get Deborah Rising, and then go get Deborah's Calling, and from there we can all wait on the third one together. This is such a grand. What can I say? It's a grand read. It has to be a grand read. It definitely is.
A grand adventure.
Yeah. Yeah. So one more question I have to ask you. Like, what started your career in writing? I mean, I in the beginning of the show, I read your accolades and the many books you have wrote in the past, but what started all of this?
Again, I didn't hear your question. I'm sorry.
It's okay. My question was, what started your journey of becoming an author, a prolific author?
Basically reading. I love reading. I read a lot as a kid. That was before, everybody was holding a phone in their hands. There were no phones and no computers, and even TV was not so popular. So a lot of reading. I admire writers. I found books captivating, and in time I started writing myself, kind of a natural progression. And I've been writing for a long time now.
Yes, sir. Now, we're closing down in this interview. Got like the last little 10 minutes or so left, and I want to ask one more side question before I'll leave the floor open to you. Now, out of all of the books that you have written, besides Deborah's Rising, which we're talking about right now, when did Deborah's Rising release, by the way?
Deborah Rising was released last year, and Deborah Calling was released in the past year.
Okay. Now, besides those two books, out of all the other writings that you have, is there one, not saying a favorite, but that you that you feel closer connection to?
Well, a famous writer once said that his books are like his kids, so he doesn't have a favorite, and I like to quote that. But I think my books are different, and if you go on my website or on my page on Amazon, you can see descriptions. But usually I do recommend my first two novels, The Jerusalem Inception and The Jerusalem Assassin. Are very exciting spy novels set primarily in Israel. And some of it is, like most first novels, some of it is autobiographical, not the spying part, but some of the character experiences. So I would say those are great books to start with if someone has never read any of my books.
That's great. They can find all of that on your website.
Yes, they can find it on my website. And all my books are available as e-books that can be downloaded or as paperback. And most of the books are also available as audiobooks, which I find a lot of people enjoy listening to books these days in their cars or while jogging, etc.
Right, yeah, audiobooks are always grand. They're always grand. So, like I said, we got about 5 more minutes left. Avraham, is there anything else that you want to go that you would like to talk about?
Well, I always like to give a shout to people who write. A lot of aspiring writers out there who are trying to finish their first novel, perhaps, trying to get published. So I always like to encourage people who are starting their writing career and say, keep at it. Make it the best book or screenplay or nonfiction or memoir, whatever it is that you're writing. Make it as good as you can. Work on it again and again. Don't listen to naysayers and don't show it to anybody until you feel it's perfect.
Yes,
sir. So that's the first thing that I like to. That's the first thing that I like to always give a shout to. And the second is to thank my readers. I hear from readers a lot, but I know that a lot of readers don't necessarily reach out to me. But the readers are everything for a writer. And every time I hear back from readers that they enjoy the books and found them interesting, that's a wonderful thing. So if you've read my book and you liked it, please shoot me a line through my website. There's a contact page at azrielibooks.com. And I will get back to you within a few days, I promise.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And once again, this is Avraham Azrieli, and his book is Deborah's Calling. Deborah Calling. This is the second in the series of hopefully 4. Deborah Rising was the first. And you can get all of these at Azrieli.com, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And Avraham, it's been a pleasure having you on the line with us right now, Tuesday.
Thank you for having me. It was a real pleasure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And everybody out there listening to FRESHH Radio, where we bring you family revolution, edutainment, spirituality, health, and hip-hop all in one show. I appreciate everyone out there for listening, man. You guys have a beautiful day, and I'm signing off. Peace. Okay. You don't want to put this guidance for your phone? It's on your back. I heard you when you said it, but you sure you don't do it? What up, little ugly? I don't know why she brought you with you. The dumbest. You like, cause you like. Not like, cause of me.